I enjoy hosting people, learning about them, meeting people that are very different than me, listening to their opinions. I used to be 100% introvert.
We are partners on our path, and if certain desires arise, we're cultivating a space where there are no restrictions to one's personal license.
Recently, we kind of reconnected, and
because of a podcast, actually.
I don't follow the things that people do. Up until I separated from my wife, like my body count was probably 4 or 5, something like that. Now it's 5,000.
It's not efficacy based. It's really about if you want to make a decision towards having more pleasure in your life or not.
Love is like very, healthy. You love someone, you care for them. If one says no, and then on top of that, the partner says, well, this is important to me, even though you say no, according to this kind of, I guess, paradigm, like that would be okay.
I have full trust in your fairness, which is very helpful. I did only have a monogamous relationship.
I consider myself a romantic guy, but sometimes romance is not healthy for us. If you want to show your love, you must sacrifice your values. In sex, for instance, domination is more physical, right? So in sex, like the person dominating would be on top. There's a rumor that I'm FBI. The rumor before that was something about me being like a trafficker. Will the poison give me $1 million and I won't die? Then yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So
I would say no, regardless.
Like absolute no. Okay.
Yeah, I don't drink. I've no drugs, no smoking.
And I'm not condoning it, obviously.
No. You wouldn't be able to convince me anyway. But
wouldn't even want to try. There's no incentive in me like to do that.
And then no caffeine, no sodas, no fast food for the past like 15 years, I think.
Okay, but those you at least tried once, so sometime in
yeah,
your
like
life.
fast food, soda, caffeine. Like I had coffee when I was like 21, 20. Energy drinks I had up until like 23, 24.
Yeah,
I think.
I used to drink a lot of coffee, and I associated with tiredness, so it ended up that coffee now makes me tired. So that doesn't work anymore.
And that's pretty much what had happened as well. So
So it's as little self-destruction for you as possible, and is there an external drive for that to preserve that sobriety, I guess, and is it longevity that you're pursuing?
Yeah, I mean, it started that way, but it's just, for me, nothing, if something doesn't make logical sense of reasoning, then I would look at why are other people doing it. And when I see other people's reasoning of why they're doing it, and majority of the time their reasoning is either peer pressure or pleasure, but not pleasure in a sense of the fact that it is as a result of it giving natural pleasure. It's as a result of their lack of ability to enhance their mind to adapt to the setting that they want to be in.
Yeah, I mean, some people may actually be depressed, that's one way. I mean, if they're not, the fact that you never tried it actually is good, because it's like once you kind of taste something, now you have the contrast.
Right.
And the contrast in relative to the substance will make you think that the current state is not as good.
Correct.
Whereas in your case, what's good for real.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's the example that I always use for people who are like, how do you have fun like when you go out? And I'm just like, I don't know the difference.
Yeah.
For me, there is no alternative.
Yeah.
This has always been my state of mind. So it's like, if for me to teach myself how to have fun, I had to just adapt my mind to be like, okay, this is the environment, and then you have to figure it out.
I have a question. Before you die, would you drink? Like, would you try that?
No, it just there wouldn't be a reason.
Tomorrow you're gonna die. Like, you're not gonna try to do everything that you haven't tried in life. Like, it's not going to have any consequences.
But consequences is not the reason, right? Like, I'm not doing it because there are consequences. I'm not doing it because I don't believe there is a benefit.
Yeah.
It's like if somebody said, would you try meth? Or like, would you try heroin? Or like, would you try stabbing yourself with a knife in the heart, because it's just like like, to me, that those are the equivalent examples.
But those, and I don't want to keep you away from this, but so tell me to stop whenever you want.
Oh no, we're recording, so we're good.
Oh, okay, perfect. I love that. It's natural. But those things are potentially harmful, right? So if you're about to die tomorrow, there's really no harm. That's why I'm asking.
So what you just said is like those are potentially harmful, right? There's a long-term harmful and there's a short-term harmful. Yeah. Which I would argue that this is a short-term harmful. But your argument is that because you're dying, then the short-term harmful would just give you an experience that you've never had before,
without suffering the harmful effects, because you're gonna go anyway.
It's inevitable.
But the answer to but the question then would be, okay, is curiosity worth the thing that you're gonna do? Right. And that's really what you're arguing here, is that, are you curious enough to do it before you die? Right. And I would say there are a lot of things that I'm curious about, but doesn't justify just because I'm going to die doing it would make any sense. And you could go as extreme as like killing someone. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I would never do it, but I'm curious why people who do it and how they feel about doing it. Yeah. Right. And what the reasoning is on how they feel afterwards. I'm curious about those things. Those are questions in my mind.
These are great questions, actually. But like, why would you not kill?
Yeah. But it's just like, it doesn't justify the fact that just because I'm going to die tomorrow, that all of a sudden I'm going to go around and start shooting a bunch of people.
Because people, even after your death, your family will suffer the consequences. There are personal reasons for that.
Yeah. You could come up with a bunch of reasons why, right? But I think at the end of the day, this is one of those things that, again, I just don't have reason. I was never curious about it, and people
which
say
is
that
a good thing, by the way.
Yeah. They're like, "Would you ever curious?" I'm like, "There's nothing for me to be curious about because I see other people." Yeah. Right. My curiosity is satisfied. Yeah. I've seen enough people hungover, drunk, throwing up, and even dying as a result of it.
You've seen the bad effects. Have you ever seen people intoxicated that are enjoying themselves, and you were like, oh wow, I wonder what that feels like?
No, because I have enough fun in order to.
Never ever wondered what visualization hallucinations look like, how you can, I don't know, see noises and hear
the
colors,
range of your perception,
that kind of thing. Like, just as the curiosity to kind of test out what your capabilities are in life. It didn't motivate. It doesn't attract you, at least personally speaking, to partake.
So I have my first cousin is a dean of psychology in San Francisco, and I talked to her about microdosing, and I asked her, I was like, hey, like, what do you think about it? Do you think it's like beneficial, blah blah blah? And she was like, well, there are studies that like, helps, et cetera, and like we went through the setup, and I was like, okay, and I dove into it and did my research, and one of the things that I realized was that, and I had this argument with somebody else that was like, I don't see a significant difference in the performance of the people who are microdosing versus the people that don't.
And that I agree with you, actually. Microdosing is a fab.
It's not efficacy based. It's really about if you want to make a decision towards having more pleasure in your life or not. And from your point of view, it's either that you do place the value in as many experiences as possible, or you don't. In this case, I think you filter it out per its advantages, and if it's not advantageous, you do not partake.
I always compare relationships to drugs, especially when like falling in love, right? When you fall in love, it's almost like you get blind, you get almost addicted to this love. So how do you feel about that? Like, do you feel that don't you see all the relationships that somebody's blinded by love and they just act really stupid, and not for their, for their own benefit, and they really are almost destroying themselves. Seeing that, wouldn't that give you the same conclusions that you got from substances?
It's like it's not advantageous for you technically.
And let me define the way I say things. Like, in love, I mean like, gaga.
Sure.
Love is like very, healthy. You love someone, you care for them, you can marry them, you can be with them for the rest of your life, a soulmate. But I'm specifically talking about in love, when like it's some kind of a vision of a romantic, beautiful thing, the prince and the dragon and the princess,
Yeah. It's interesting you're trying to define that, but I understand what you're saying because I've been there.
Yeah,
I get
just
what
to make
saying.
sure.
I've made wrong decisions for the reasoning of I have feelings for this person, and I chose my emotion over my logic, right? And so there is, and I was always arguing that the reason why you would do such a thing is because you're counting on hope to become reality, which is to some extent could be delusional.
It is.
Yes.
Versus saying that if I do the logical thing, I for certain know what's going to happen.
Right.
And it's interesting because for as long as humanity existed, right, I think the reason why we grow is as a result of having hope versus the logical things of living life. And
Cope, not Coke.
and
Damn it.
and of course logic is a great thing, but I think hope gives you the ability to imagine and dream things that otherwise would be impossible.
And is that a good thing?
I think it's a great thing. However, I think every person needs to know their line, and sometimes people lose where the line is. And if you do lose where the line is, then you would end up doing things that would be detrimental to your survival or to your ability to survive the very thing that destroyed you.
Don't lose your line of coke.
And that is the line between love and in love, right?
Right.
So there's also a line with substances. Not everybody knows what that line is because they get carried away, just like they get carried away within love.
For sure.
But if you have a good reasoning skills, which you do, obviously, you can make a point that could be tried one time, check off, and move on. Don't need to do it forever. So no bad, effect. But at least you have kind of had full disclosure, so to speak, of what it is, so you can truly make a subjective opinion if that's something that you don't want.
Yeah, unfortunately, there hasn't been a single person who's been able to.
And I sound like I'm trying to convince you.
I'm not selling you.
Devil's advocate. That's all.
I get what you're saying. I understand. And again, it's just there hasn't been a single person who's been able to demonstrate a plausible reason why what they're doing, whether it's fun or whether it's hallucinating, that would gave them some sort of a gateway to the future or whatever it is that you want to say. And there's not a single person who showed me that, and I stood there and I looked at them and I was like, you know what, that makes sense. And believe me when I tell you, I've been around all types of people who have done all types of drugs and used substances and drank and whatever, and I just haven't been convinced because I look at those people and I look at myself and I look at my life, and I literally think I'm just fucking great, and there's no reason for me to do any of this.
Sure.
So and that's not to say it in a cocky way, because I think some substances.
You're totally being cocky and arrogant right now.
I think it works.
So off-putting.
It works for some. I do think it works for some people.
Yeah.
Right. There is like, I have friends who are massive introverts, and so they drink alcohol to really loosen themselves up and be able to have a conversation with other people. And I totally get this. Right. I understand. I just don't have that problem.
Yeah. I mean, it would, for that example, I guess it would be fine as long as it doesn't conflict with other motives in their life.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Which I think majority of the time I've noticed that it does.
It does.
Which is the irony in the situation is that, like, I have friends who wake up the next day and they're like, fuck, I can't do anything.
We're greedy, people are just, we want more. We don't know what the balance is. We always want to try to pursue happiness.
Yeah, precisely. I'm going to actually do the intro now, but nonetheless,
the credits roll down.
Hi, everyone.
I think this is a great way to obviously begin the conversation. Welcome to Unattainable. Glad to have you with us and hope you continue to be a part of our family for the foreseeable future. And if so, please hit that subscribe button. I am Moshe Nela here with our great guests. Please introduce yourselves, where you're from, what you do, how old you are, and your relationship.
Okay, so
That's
my
a
name
lot
is
of things to
Moshe.
remember.
I was born in Israel, moved to the States when I was 13, against my will, I think, but I'm not sure. I lived in New York, I lived in Miami, and now I live in LA. It's been maybe 15 years, maybe more, that I lived in LA. I'm a surgeon, a spine surgeon. I think the biggest thing that I can kind of introduce my identity is that it's very different than it was 10 years ago. I kind of followed I'm going to make a really long introduction.
Do it.
I kind of followed the usual standard path, right? Go to school, make good grades, get a good job. And I've done it all, and I succeeded, and I reached the end, so to speak. The American dream, so to speak, but it was not really there, not what I expected. I actually didn't feel good about myself at all. So I kind of put everything on hold and did a lot of self-reflection and reprogramming for about 5 years or so. And then I came out after that 5 years completely a different person. Looking back at myself before, it was almost laughable. So I still do my practice. I still work. I needed to sustain, my finances as well as what I do in life. But I do consider the more important part of my life is outside of that. I enjoy hosting people, learning about them, meeting people that are very different than me, listening to their opinions, seeing their perspective, and also observing how people behave and interact with each other. That is fascinating to me. That's kind of like my passion right now. That's who I am right now. You were talking about introvert before. I used to be 100% introvert, just like I was very happy being in my room by myself watching TV all day. I probably know every movie there is up to a certain year. After that, now I don't actually have any. I almost don't like to watch movies anymore because it takes away my time from doing something which I feel is more important, is meeting people. And I'm not talking about networking for personal gain. I'm just talking about meeting anyone that, especially a stranger that is very, that has almost what society would label as weird or, shunned from society almost for their crazy ideas. I like to hear them out because some of them are brilliant, and unfortunately they get too much backlash from society. So they kind of, they get introverted and they don't really share that. It's somewhat of a mutualistic relationship because they finally get to, to expose or vent to somebody who actually wants to hear them out. So, and it works well for both of us. Yeah, that's who I am. Yeah, so sorry for that long one.
The more you know.
That's what she said.
And I'm Nela. I'm just a girl. I was born in Kazakhstan, the Borat country. Did move here when I was little. Lived in LA the whole time. Kind of grew up in the Western culture, so I do not really identify with the place that I was born at. Background is in architecture and interior design, but I kind of got quickly disillusioned with the industry. I don't think I chose it for the right reasons at a time. So right now I'm just figuring out where my place in the world is. Just
awesome.
Being.
Awesome. And then how old are you?
23.
Okay. And Moshe, how old are you?
50.
50
Just
vicious.
had my birthday.
And you guys' relationship?
Yes.
Oh, yes, we are in a relationship. It's a committed relationship. I wouldn't call it monogamous, but it's a committed relationship.
You wouldn't call it monogamous?
I would not call it monogamous.
Why
because,
is that?
Well, because we have sex with other people.
Okay.
But we do it together.
So you're in an okay, what's the name of that?
There's no name for that.
There's no name. There are working terms
Because
that
technically
we can.
it's not an open relationship.
It's not.
No,
Yeah,
it's definitely not an open
relationship.
So, and it's not driven by an idea that essentially you just fuck around and go around, but it's not about that. More so, we are partners on our path, and if certain desires arise, it's we're cultivating a space where there are no restrictions to one's personal license.
Okay.
And in that case, if there is a desire, then it would be okay to talk about it and proceed.
So let's say for the sake of this conversation, there is a guy that comes up to you and hits on you,
Right.
right? And then you're like, oh, okay, interesting. You go and you have a conversation with him, and he says,
Yes.
no. No, let's say you say no.
Police, bring him on.
You say no.
Yeah.
Move on and walk away.
Yeah.
Yes. No
Yeah.
questions asked.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, no question asks, as defined that, there will be a conversation. Just as a preface, this never happens. I'm actually, like, I have such a bar in terms of meeting people. So in this case, like, I'm very, very assertive in a sense of who I actually enjoy spending time with. So, but that's just that. But yeah, you can take over.
Hypothetically, like I said, I wouldn't say no. But let's say hypothetically, in this type of a relationship, if one says no, and then on top of that, the partner says, well, this is important to me, even though you say no, according to this kind of, I guess, paradigm, like, that would be okay. And if it's not okay to the person that said no and the person that kind of had the heat of the moment and wanted to do it, if it's not okay for the person to say no, that's his or her problem to deal with, and they have to make a decision. Is this something to continue, or is this something to, change the rules of the game, or just completely break up? It only works if both parties understand that the individuality is also important, as well as the relationship. Both of them have to be in balance. If it's tilting towards a relationship and there's personal sacrifices, well, that's just a regular relationship that we see all around, right? The monogamous relationship.
That tends to lead to resentment a lot of times.
Yeah, and if it's the other way around, then that's just being single.
Okay. So, okay. This is interesting. There's a lot of questions that I want to kind of like go to. I want to find which one is the most ideal way to go there. But before I go there, there's
why don't
another
you just
question.
Go straight into it?
Well, because there's just multiple questions.
Into the thick of it.
And I don't want to forget.
Okay.
So okay, let's reverse the situation. Have you ever been in a situation where you had a girl that you wanted to have sex with, for example, and then you brought her to her attention, and she said no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but
So the question is, yes, the question is, why did you say no? And then tell me what happened.
That's a good question.
I said no, and it is what do you call that? A dynamic thing, right? Because the relationship and where I stand and where he stands evolves as we gain more experience in it. For me, it is a first experience like that. Initially, I would say no. Well, I would feel personally threatened. I would feel that, again, the relationship is at stake. I would feel jealousy, like plain and simple things. And even though we did play around with a lot of girls and a lot of there essentially was no bounds in terms of sexual experimentation, certain girls did trigger me more than others, and in that case, yes, I would have more of a reaction. And there were situational circumstances where maybe like, oh, this is different because you paid like more attention to her, or because you spent a little bit more time with her, or because I think the way she carries herself, she's trying to make a fool of you, and I don't like that she has this thing over you, and many things come into play. And as time goes, the sensitivity to that, of course, I think is coming down, as well as just as I begin to understand myself more and where all these things stemming from, and going back to the general paradigm, it's
you're starting to trust the relationship more and not feeling insecure about it.
I think, yeah. We may return to that because it's again it's a living thing and can be talked about from many different ways. But essentially, the no was stemming from being triggered. Simple.
Okay. And how long have you guys been together?
More than a half year, since November. No, actually not that long. November. Right? Yeah. We actually met a very long time ago. How long ago? 3 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And we met at LIB, and we went over there together. I hardly even saw her. She was with these girls that I know. She was one of their friends. And actually, when we came back is when I actually got to, actually have
back from the festival,
a good conversation with her. And I was like, holy fuck, this girl is smart, She's so young, but so smart, because at that time you must have been 20. So, so I was with another girlfriend at the time, and I remember like that she really was impressive. Her brain was really impressive, and that's it. And then I probably saw her once a year when she came over for my birthday, and then recently we kind of reconnected, and
Because of a podcast, actually.
yeah. And really quickly we bonded, and we really enjoyed spending time together. And of course there's that mental connection that we have, but that's not enough for romance, right? Like, you could just be friends with a mental connection. So it was more than that. And I feel like I personally have I don't follow the things that people do. I don't look at other people and kind of assimilate. I question everything that people do, including myself. So I prefer this system, and I am fair about it. I try to be fair about it. If I'm not fair about it, it's just being like an asshole. Just an egocentric thing. Or I just want to have all the power. It's not fair. And I think that she noticed that in me, and of course, with time, you see that person has your back, even in a conflict. So that person is not kind of taking their side; they're taking both sides, and that's what I try to do. I question myself: am I wrong about this? And I'm hard on myself, when it comes to that. I don't take advantage of it. If I did, this whole trust thing is down the drain, right? So it won't serve me. So yeah.
I have full trust in your fairness, which is very helpful in terms of if there's a conversation, and if there's something that
fairness. I thought it was fairness.
Of your judgment and of your fairness, because as you said, it's not in the case of a conflict, it's not like pulling the blanket towards one or the other side, like towards one's egos. I know that whatever it is that we are working through is not coming from a place of Moshe just trying to defend himself for the sake of defending himself, and the same, I hope, applies to me. It is really figuring out where the truth lies, detached from who we are as people, just really arriving together at a point that makes sense.
There will be situations in which she wouldn't even, that I felt like she was being unfair to herself. I would benefit from it, but she would not, and she agrees to it, and I don't allow her to do that. And so there's been situations like that where, I actually go out of my way to make sure that the pendulum doesn't swing one way. I don't want it to swing my way, and it shouldn't swing to her way. It should be a very balanced relationship. Otherwise, the whole thing doesn't make sense.
How many relationships have you been in?
At least 3 serious. Yes, 3,500 to be exact. 3 serious ones, I want to say.
How long were they?
A year at least.
And then how long was your latest relationship before you started this one?
2 years.
Okay. So you were 21 during your last relationship.
Like 2024, I was,
21.
Yeah.
So, and then that was 1 year.
That was, no, basically my latest relationship, most recent one, we began dating in January 2024 and it ended in November 2025. So.
Okay, so it's been a year since your last relationship then.
No,
year and a half-ish. Or year and 4 months.
November 2025 was half a year ago.
November. Oh.
Yeah.
Wait. I thought you started this relationship November 2025.
Correct. So that one ended.
Got it. So then right after when you ended that relationship, you went into this one.
It was a transition. Sure. Not immediate. It's not like right after I broke up, we sealed the deal the next day. But
few weeks, whatever.
3 hours.
Okay. So, but arguably there wasn't any significant amount of time in between. Yeah. So, and that was for a year, and then
that most recent one was 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Got it. So 23 until 25, you had that relationship, and you were 20. You're 23 now, so you were 21 up until 23. You had that relationship at that point, and then you had 2 more relationships before that, and all of these relationships prior to this were monogamous.
Yes.
Okay. What was your reaction? Okay, tell me how the conversation came up when you guys decided to make it official.
It wasn't a specific point in time where we sat down and decided to sort of seal that, but it was, again, an evolving conversation that would naturally come up because as we started spending more time together, the natural way of things of just growing closer to each other, we would simply spend more time in each other's company. And while you do that, through conversation, you sort of feeling out and confessing halfway how you feel about each other. And it was a topic that would come up almost all the time, and because relationships are just in general fun to talk about.
Sure.
So it wasn't like a certain point that I think began that, but
at some point you recognize that he is looking for a...
Oh, I knew that right from there was no mystery about that. Absolutely. Yeah, there was.
What made you consider it?
Because I was interested in it myself. I did only have monogamous relationships, and I don't want to say against my will, obviously no, sure. But it also it was a result of the fact that that's just the most common way to do things, and it's just the people that I happen to have been in relationship with and to have been in love with, they were into monogamy. So, and if any of them, were to experiment more, perhaps I would have that experience earlier, but I didn't. So personally, I just I felt very emancipated, I want to say sexually, and very interested in trying and acquiring different experiences, which is why in this case I was just excited.
Got it. And Moshe, how many relationships have you been in?
Monogamous ones or just partnership? Okay, so I'll just go through them. In college, that was my first relationship. It lasted for 5 years, maybe 4 years. And then I wouldn't even call them relationships. And then I got married, and I was married for 17 years. After that, I was in I would call this the same kind of committed relationship I have with Nela. And that lasted for 2.5 years. Then I was in really fucked up 2 very short term, wouldn't even call them healthy relationships. I don't know what that was. Not even worth almost mentioning. And then they were really short lived. So
okay.
And then Nela. So up until I separated from my wife, like my body count was probably 4 or 5, something like that. Now it's 5,000.
You actually know your body
counting.
count?
I lost it.
Got it.
Yeah.
So
Plus, it doesn't really matter to me, so it's not something I, like I need to kind of keep a tally of.
It's the pi number. It's infinite.
That's funny. Why did your marriage end?
So remember I was saying earlier how I something was off with the way I saw things back in the day when I pretty much got everything that everybody kind of looks for in this world, at least in our capitalistic society. But something wasn't right. Like I wasn't happy. So when I changed, after I changed, I was still very interested in continuing the marriage, but because of my difference, I don't think that my wife appreciated that much because she was not very okay with the change.
She hadn't changed. You did.
Right, and I was too, let's call it flexible. And I'm not talking about sexually at all. I was still monogamous the whole time. Never cheated on her, and she didn't cheat on me. It was not having nothing to do with sex at all. It had to do with more with freedom of choice, of any everyday stuff. And we tried for a few years, to make it work because we both wanted it to work. We were the best friends, and but sometimes it's just if you need to wave the white flag at some point, and it was just not healthy for us to be together, considering how much we failed at reconciling. So neither one of us wanted to kind of call the time of death. So I had I needed to pull the trigger, even though I didn't want to be the one. I pulled the trigger, and whether she knows it or not, I did it for, and this is not just a narrative I'm telling myself, I truly did it for myself, for my kid, and for my ex.
Do you think if you could go back in time that there was a way you could have fixed and made it work?
No, absolutely not. We did everything possible.
This is an interesting concept to me because how old were you when the change started?
It was about, I would say, 10 years ago, something like that.
Okay, so you're 40 years old.
I'm 50.
No, at that point.
At that point? Yeah, it was about 40. Not exact, but about, yeah.
Sure. And how old was your child?
She wasn't born yet.
Oh, when the change started, she wasn't born yet.
Correct.
Okay.
We weren't even pregnant.
Okay, and then when you got divorced, how old was
she was about 4 years old.
Got it. So when do you remember the exact time when the change started to take place?
Well, it's a transition over a span of 5 years. So I remember that it was starting in a very subtle way, right from the beginning, and that's kind of what motivated me to continue with it because I liked the direction it was going. But that transition, kind of like growing older, right? Like you see yourself in the mirror every day. You don't see yourself getting old. But if you all of a sudden see a friend of yours that hasn't seen you for like a year, like, dude, you got old, So like that interval of 5 years, 4 or 5 years, that was very, very noticeable. Anybody that I was close with back then would not really, if they were blind, would not really recognize me.
Do you think that there's this concept, right? Like during marriage, especially marriages of our parents or like grandparents, right? The concept of till death do us part.
Sure.
And it's a very interesting concept to me because I don't believe that it's realistic.
I wish it was.
Right.
But maybe sometimes it is, but we shouldn't hold on to it if it's not working.
It's based in religion.
Sure.
It's also based on romance, I would say. And I consider myself a romantic guy, but sometimes romance is not healthy for us.
Same as me, but also the idea for getting married because of romantic love it is as young as 200 years old. People were not getting married for love before that, even a few centuries ago. So just the premise, till death do us part, it's a consequence of a religious institution.
I see. Yeah, because you are specifically talking about marriage, not just long-term relationships.
Yeah.
Correct. Because so I've had this conversation with my wife with regards to changing, and one of the things that sometimes people argue is my wife is young, so we have a 17-year age gap, and people would say things like, she's so young, she's going to change. And I always argue that you can't really predict when somebody changes.
Agreed.
Because you could be, in your example, 40 years old and change.
Yes.
I know that from first-hand experience. Yeah.
Exactly. You could be 35 years old and change. You could be 30 years old and change. You could be 70 years old and change.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the person that you were compatible with becomes fully incompatible. And what's interesting to me is that I always try to figure out if there is a way to see that coming. Right?
What do you mean?
Is there a way for your partner to recognize
Predictability factor.
that there is a change coming? Did you feel like that there was a point in time that something happened that sort of jump started this change, as opposed to it just gradually small little things?
Well, I mean, of course, there's always some kind of a trigger, but the trigger had nothing to do with our relationship. It was more about how I saw life in general. The purpose of life, that kind of thing. I still love my wife. In a way, I still do love my ex.
Sure.
And I try to be friends with her as much as she will allow me. But, it takes two to tango.
I'm assuming she doesn't, because she's resentful.
She, rationally speaking, she wants to. She is not very capable, but she tries, and I respect her for that, of knowing how she feels and admitting it to herself.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And presumably you believe that you're a better person than you were before the change.
100%. Yeah.
Okay. And at what point did you decide that monogamy no longer worked for you?
Oh, interesting question. It wasn't during the marriage. It was towards the end of my the next relationship I had, that one that was 2.5 years. It started off monogamous, but we always kind of had an understanding of that kind of almost contract, right? That individuality should not suffer for it. Even though there was no intention of doing anything outside of monogamy, I realized, like, halfway through that relationship, that I went straight from my entire life, from one relationship to another. Never really got to be single. Now, I do have a preference for partnership. I enjoy it. And at that time at least, I wasn't even sexual. And I couldn't allow myself, rationally speaking, to not expose myself so I can make an informed decision about what is it like to have sex for no reason,
Bachelorhood.
That's something that I just didn't have much experience with. And that's something that was very important to my individuality, and it had nothing to do with a sexual drive, at least not in the beginning. Later on, I kind of solidified this concept that, hey, now I do like it. Sure, I can stop doing. I'm not, some kind of a sexual deviant that's impossible for me. I can definitely do monogamy. I choose not to.
Sure.
Yeah, I choose not to because I don't want to follow a path in which my partner and I are following cultural rules, and that cultural rule is almost show me you love me by sacrificing yourself.
That's the ultimate sacrifice that pierces through.
Like, that should
the
not
entire
exist.
Culture.
That's just a lack of confidence. You should just give your love, and hopefully that person that receives it would appreciate it so much that to them nothing would be a sacrifice. They would love your presence next to them And that's what love should be.
Continuously
it
keep
should not
choosing
be
you.
a contract or a demand, or it should be natural. It should be coming from the receiving end. The person that wants to give a gift, shouldn't be asked to give a gift. He should do it out of their own, voluntary conscious decision because they want to. And the other person cannot be like, why didn't you give me a gift for my birthday? No, it doesn't work that way. If that person truly loved you, they will give you a gift. And it's simple as that. And you don't get it if you don't like it, then you just don't see eye to eye,
Sure. I think there's a level of understanding the person's love languages. And I think sometimes people just don't know, right? Like good example. Like my wife loves flowers. She's just like flowers, 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 flowers. I think that those flowers are useless and pointless, right? For me, it's just like it has no value. If somebody gave me flowers, I'd be like, what? Like, you don't know who I am.
I know we're good,
right?
Yeah.
And so it's one of the things that I've always struggled with is to try to put value in the thing that I find zero value in, where somebody else finds value in.
So the value is in the receiver.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. So I think in that sense is this room that we have to give people, which is if we have to allow them to not know something, and then once they learn something, if the effort is still zero, then you're like, okay, well, obviously they don't care. Or maybe sometimes people just can't really reprogram themselves quick enough, right? And so for me, it's like me adding this, like, okay, once a week you got to go buy flowers into my schedule. It's like something that I haven't done for the past 37 years of my life.
It's not that hard, right?
Sure.
It's not asking you to stop like doing something that you love. Let's say she wanted
It's
to
not restrictive,
show you love by stopping this podcast and come home and be with her all the time.
Sure.
Now it's a sacrifice.
Right.
This is not just buying flowers where it's not much skin off your back, and you would be very happy to give it to her, and she would love it, and you would be happy that she's smiling, and she would be happy because she will know you love her because you read her love language. But when it becomes unhealthy is when somebody's demanding or telling you their love language is kind of against your individuality.
Sure.
And if you want to show your love, you must sacrifice your values and a big chunk of of what you think is important. Now, does that person really love you?
Well, it's as if they're asking you to sacrifice, yes, a part of you.
Yeah, that's not love to ask somebody. That's just lack of confidence. If somebody is asking the partner to show them how much they love them by hurting themselves.
Mm-hmm. Do you, which is used a very interesting word, do you think that women should submit to men?
No, I don't.
Do you think women should submit to men?
What, should
Are you
or
asking
do?
should or
Should.
do? Yeah. Should. I don't think there are any shoulds and musts whatsoever that would universally be true. And do I think that they should? No, I don't. But I don't think they should. I don't think they shouldn't.
I don't think they should. Submit in a sense of sacrifice? No.
Not in a sense. Well,
That's a sacrifice of their, self. Like, I'm less important than you. That's submitting, right?
no, obviously they shouldn't. What I'm saying is it also depends on who's asking. If it's from a POV of a child in a broken family, and in that case, the woman submitting just means they're gonna make it to 18. In that case, should or should not can be argued. Yes, okay, she should. It really depends on a case by case basis. Generally, shouldn't, but some people may say.
Do you
should.
naturally have a submissive personality?
Maybe, yeah.
Do you naturally have a dominant personality?
I may appear dominant, but I don't think that I actually dominate. I would feel like a bully.
Okay. Do you feel like that he has a more submissive personality or dominant personality, or just neutral?
Neutral and fair.
Okay. Do you find yourself having been with same type of personalities in the past?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever experienced being with somebody who's very dominant?
No, I could
What are you
not.
pointing at me? I just said I'm not dominant.
No,
You ever have experience with someone who's not dominant? Oh, who is dominant?
even
Well,
though
you said that you're not.
Not dominant. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I missed it.
even though I wouldn't classify myself as someone who's aggressive and or dominant and as I just said, leaning towards more neutral or submissive, I cannot stand an arrogant man or a dominative man or someone who just per their belief leads life with the notion that they are right and therefore everyone shall follow.
She will retract. She will be like, because I know, I could tell by when we first started going out, she was making these like kind of like accent of like a traditional Slavic man. It was like you woman, you know, like
I was
can't do
joking
it like
about
her.
it.
She was joking about like me man, center of the world or something like that. I
cannot stand that.
Yeah, I could tell immediately that does not work for her, and if anybody ever did that to her, she will not like it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Why don't you like it?
why would she?
I think a person that carries themselves in such a way is either uninformed, or if they are informed and still proceed to act in such ways. I want to not have anything to do with that because it is living a life in a very sheltered, almost way where it is closed-mindedness and is, to a sense, being very square. Because when you don't challenge, again, yourself, and when you are so sure for some reason that you are right, it really disseminates everything around that person. They're not striving to learn. They're not open to, again, question their perspectives. They're obviously then not open to even factor in or consider what you have to say or what you have to suggest. And it's a one-way channel. Almost, and it's not about growth in that sense. It's almost the opposite of growth for me. It's stagnation.
And
It's interesting because I feel like you're equating dominance to arrogance, ego, and
Yeah.
and I don't particularly believe that they're the same thing.
Okay.
Right? Because you could be a dominant person and allow others to have opinions and hear them out, but at the same time also believe that you're right. Because if you're...
And it's their way or the highway, right? The dominant.
Not particularly. It doesn't have to be. Because dominance doesn't mean that you're just taking everybody else's choices away.
And if you're
So
to
what do you
define
re-
dominance in this case,
Yeah, maybe
just
define it.
so we
that
agree
sounds like
on,
very mild dominance.
Well, no, it's just the
like
ability...
consider it dominance.
the ability to make decisions that are as informed as possible, right? Like if a good example of it is if you crossing the street,
Yes.
right, and there are cars coming from your left, and you look to your left, and then you get to the middle of the street, and then there are cars coming from your right, and then you look to your right, and then you cross the street, right? Mm-hmm. During this process, you believing that you're right to do the thing that you did doesn't make you arrogant, or doesn't make you taking away other people's choices. The reality of it is, if you look to your right and then the cars were supposed to come from your right, and then all of a sudden the car came from your left, you'd be like, hey, you were the fucking wrong person in this situation. And I was right because I was passing through doing the right thing.
And as you were actually bringing up this example, when you said you believe that you were right, I immediately in my head thought, I'm hoping that what I'm doing is going to aid me in the survival process while I'm crossing the street, because I do not in that case believe that I'm right, because it's not whether or not if I do or if I don't, if some asshole decides to like drive down the street in the wrong lane, I can be right, but he's still gonna ride me over. So, and in that case, I'm always aware of the fact that even though, yeah, there are some rules, the car would be coming from right, the car would be coming from the left, but I cannot be, nothing is guaranteed and
But
nothing is certain.
This is traffic laws, right? There are rules. There's no subjectivism in it, right? We're talking
Also
about
true.
a relationship in which one's opinion is more important than another. That's what dominate is. In sex, for instance, domination is more physical, right? So in sex, like the person dominating would be on top, deciding what positions to take,
One's pleasure over the others.
making sure that the submissive is feels helpless always. But it's a play, it's kind of like a game that has been consented to. In life, though, if that exists, that's like slavery. That should not exist.
There's this concept with women who are submissive, where they feel that if they're with a dominant man who they trust, that they could just turn off their brain and allow this man to do whatever it is that he thinks is the right thing to do.
And that's a choice.
Because that is natural to them.
Sure.
Right. And
there's guys that do that too. The other way
of course,
around.
no, absolutely. 100%. But generally speaking, that seems to be more natural for women than it is for men. Now,
I beg to differ. I would say it's pretty much the same, but
you think statistically,
I think women just do it very subtly. Women are very good at not making it as raw and obvious as guys do. But I think it's pretty much the same percentage. But who knows? Nobody has really studied this.
Obviously, I don't think we would be able to. But my general sort of sense of the statistics of this, comes from obviously my personal experience. So it's like the number of men that I've met versus the number of women that I've met, and how many of these were telling me that they're more submissive versus them being dominant, for example.
Usually probably hang out in a very specific kind of family of friends, correct? In your personal life.
Well, not particularly. I mean, I meet a lot of people on a regular basis. I mean, thousands of people.
Do they have a common denominator, so to speak?
Not particularly, no.
Okay.
Yeah. Because especially because I was in nightlife since I was like 20 years old. So I would just meet people from
nightlife is a common denominator, though.
But there is. Do
you know the geeks, the ones that are in academia? Do you have those friends? Do you know, I don't know, the ones in Skid Row? The ones I'm talking about.
Mafia members.
It's easy to say
Sure.
that we have kind of like our sample of very diverse people are a good sample of the entire population, but I think that's too simplistic to say. We don't really.
Yeah, of course. Right. My sample would be, I would say, obviously like misses like, homeless people or like, people in the, even like in the military. Like I would say like there's a very small percentage of people that are in military that I've met, right? In comparison. Like so one day I was like talking to somebody about this. I was like, what's interesting? I've never met anybody who was in the FBI, and in a sense of like, I've met people that were in the FBI, but like nobody that like I would have a one-on-one conversation
Today's
with,
your lucky
right?
day.
There's a rumor that I'm FBI.
Oh, really?
We'll never know.
Why is that the rumor?
That's a funny story.
You started it.
I didn't realize it, but I guess I probably started it, but it was a joke. And so the rumor before that was something about me being like a sex trafficker. And I was like, it was so ridiculous that I was telling the person I was with at the time, I was like, people just believe everything, like, I'm going to start a rumor by myself. I'm going to, let me see. I'm going to tell somebody that I'm an FBI agent, and let's see if that spreads. That one person that I told to somehow, obviously, was the beginning of the path that all of a sudden I'm getting phone calls of people asking me about this rumor going around that I'm an FBI agent. Obviously, I said it as a joke. I didn't like. It was very obvious. I wasn't telling her, "Hey, go spread this around." It was, So anyway, that's
like
what happened.
That similar thing happened to me when I was in middle school.
Yeah.
Because I used to go back and forth to the U.S. when I was a kid, and somebody like said something so ridiculous. It was like, "Oh, have you ever met Harry Potter?"
Yeah.
And I was just like, I was in the mood of just like being sarcastic, like fucking with this kid, and I was like, "Yeah, he's my cousin." And literally 2 weeks later, the whole school is like, "Oh my god, you know Harry?" And
Can you get me to Hogwarts?
But did you give
Ironically, he doesn't even live in the U.S.
Did you give him like the dry humor, and you never really give him that smile to kind of show him that you're kidding, or because that would do it? You can't blame him for doing that.
I think it was just one of those reactions of like, I'm just gonna fuck with this kid.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was more so I was like, I told him,
Yeah.
thinking that he'll
Get
like
it.
get that I'm joking,
Yeah.
and then he didn't, and I was just like,
Can't give people
It's
the
I
benefit
always
just
of
so
the doubt.
like
weird.
let him kind of soak
Yeah.
in it, but then not realizing he's gonna go and tell everyone.
Yeah.
So then my best friend's mom calls my mom asking if it's actually true.
Jesus.
Give me an autograph.
So it was so crazy because then
I-
afterwards everybody started calling me Harry at school. So that was
When I do the dry humor, and I do that a lot, and I do it with very extreme kind of jokes, people believe it. And I could see on their face that they believe it. So I just made a rule for myself to always, within maybe no more than 30 seconds, put a smile on my face.
Like,
Otherwise,
kidding.
yeah, just to make sure like this doesn't get disseminated.
Ease the tension.
you mentioned that you were in two very messed up relationships.
Yeah.
What happened?
Very long story, each and every one of them. All right, let's go for it. One of them, I wouldn't even call it a relationship, but there was a common denominator to both of them. That they just did not have a good sense of reality versus what is true. Both of them were kind of manifesting their way through life to a very delusional degree, right? So what happened was the first one, when I first noticed it, like there was a mismatch between, objective things and the way she described them. So like, I have a problem here because, how can you communicate with a person that tells you something that is not true, right? I don't think she meant like harm. Like, I don't think she was an evil person. I just don't think she understood or realized how bad it can expand and blow up and perhaps even be physically hurting. So anyway, so the first one ended up going to, she had this blood in the urine and like stomach aches. And I told her, why don't you go to the emergency room? I told her to go to this particular hospital. She went to the emergency room and she calls me the next day telling me that they want to discharge her. I'm going to take away all the boring parts, but basically there was a lot of discrepancies between what the lab results and diagnostics showed, and them just discharging her like that. So I came in and I tried to help her. Interestingly enough, that her own ways actually exposed something terrible in that hospital. Long story short, that is actually where the sexual trafficking thing came from. To make a long story short, it started with the administration of that hospital telling me that I cannot be her doctor, but the reasoning did not make any sense. So at first they said because I'm not the right specialty, but that is not true. Second, they said I cannot treat a family member, but she's not a family member. Mm-hmm. Then they said a doctor cannot treat their friend. I'm like, that could possibly be. And I looked at their bylaws and it doesn't say anything like that. So now they're outright lying to me. Now, why do they want me so bad not to be involved? I only realized that later. So going through the medical records, I realized that it seemed like there was almost like some kind of a motivation. And it's called patient dumping. Patient dumping is when a hospital would save money by getting rid of a patient that will cost them more money than the insurance will pay. Mm. So now this is a theory, right? But that's what it looked like. And the way they were behaving didn't make it look very honest, right? Because when I was, besides the fact that they didn't want me to be the doctor, even when she would ask them to correct mistakes that they wrote in a chart that were clearly mistakes and conflicting with their other doctors writing things in a chart, they completely refused and ignored her. Anyway, so the reason I'm saying that relationship was so crazy is because this lasted for like 3 days. It escalated to the point that they actually called a social worker because they thought that I was with her, and I guess I was sex trafficking her because she was young, beautiful. I'm an old guy. What is this guy? Why is he friends with this, very young, beautiful girl? Oh, that's right. He's a sex trafficker.
So persistent, trying
like,
to
how
help
do you make
her.
that, that's that judgment. That's ridiculous. So anyway, so that didn't work. The social worker, obviously talked to her in private and then they decided that I was intoxicated, I'm like, oh my God. While that was happening, they literally started changing data. There was a thing with the urine, the whole issue was that she was urinating so much, and they actually changed the numbers. They had the number right, and then in front of my eyes, as I'm looking at the computer, the nurse lowered the number just to make her look like she's
Discharge,
okay for discharge.
Yeah.
And I was like, I told her, let's just get out of here. Like, this is ridiculous. As we're getting out of here, they wouldn't let us leave all of a sudden. This whole time they want to discharge her, but now they don't want to let us leave probably because I made a comment of, I'm going to make sure that the world knows about this to the administrator.
They were blocking the car.
So they, start videoing the whole thing. And during that video, you see, this administrator yelling at the patient, telling her, you're not allowed to leave. We want to discharge you properly. She's having a panic attack. She's telling her she doesn't want to stay. They brought security guards to stop her. Anyway, so my presence allowed her to get the hell out of that place. They came into the elevator with us. They followed us all the way down. Then finally, when we got to the exit of the hospital, I'm like, Jesus Christ, that was fucking Twilight Zone, So we got into the car. We just started driving. And they blocked the exit with the nurses from the floor. They actually came all the way down to block the exit of the car. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, that's ridiculous. And the response was, you try to hit the nurse. And at that point, I'm like, these guys, it looked like something from a third world country.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think even a third world country would do something like that. To me, it's not evidence, but it just shows the behavior of somebody who's really going out of their way to make sure that I am discredited in one way or another. Of course, they took away my privileges from the hospital, but, not that I would ever want to go back there. I never stepped foot in that hospital ever again because they're just, I tried to actually file complaints about it to all kinds of governmental agencies. Government doesn't help.
It's a mafia.
So yeah, they're still running the show, So that's that. But anyway, coming out of that, that caused a lot of friction in our relationship because when she would lie, that became a concern to me about what actually happened in that hospital. Did I make right decisions? Because half of my decisions were based on what she told me. So that's how that blew up. Second relationship it would be difficult for me to say because I don't want to incriminate her. And that information, I won't be able to tell the story without incriminating her. So you're going to have to take my word that it was that it was not a very good relationship, not for her, not for me. Yeah.
Question for both of you. We'll begin with you. What do you consider cheating?
Going outside of the trust that you have with the person, going beyond or trying to bend the agreement, or essentially betraying the ground that you and your partner stand on, and
well, this is kind of
hiding it and not coming forward with it. And yeah, I'm just I'm having sometimes I do pause a little bit to gather my thoughts.
We just talked about this yesterday, actually.
It's interesting
like
to me
processing
because
speed.
Because obviously you guys' dynamics is a little bit different, right? So in a normal relationship, I would say, do you consider flirting cheating? Which obviously in this particular case is not,
we're talking
right?
very literal case. Oh, okay, I see
Yes,
what you're asking right now.
So in this particular case, flirting is not cheating, correct? Okay. And then texting other girls, not cheating.
Well, again, with the preface, I just want to preface that all of these actions, and we can say no, they're not cheating. It just you have to factor in that we are both aware of what's going on. If there is a new element that has been introduced, like if texting girls has been fine this whole time, you carry on texting girls. If all of a sudden you are going out on 2 dates this week, and even though you're going to tell me later, let me know before that now this thing is being introduced as a new activity, and after we have consensually, talked through that and agreed on that, then so basically the actions are warranted as long as we are on the same page. And to get on the same page, it either has to be already a part of our agreement, something that we have discussed, and if we didn't, then that has to be discussed. And breaking of trust and cheating would be introducing, let's say, this new element or new activity or new action without running it by, sort of bending that agreement, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. I'm assuming you agree.
I agree. I would just add that that cheating is when it's basically when you're lying, when you're not, when you're hiding something, when you're not sharing it with your partner. So if something, let's say, comes about that wasn't discussed, right, and you hide it because of your own shame or whatever, well, that would be cheating. But if you discuss it, it was like, oh, we didn't really talk about it, but it happened. Let's talk about it now. As long as that person volunteers that information, nobody's going to insult anybody's intelligence. Nobody's going to disrespect anyone. And they're not going to disrespect the bond that that relationship has. In our relationship, the bond is that togetherness. The bond is about trust. Loyalty, the loyalty is in the trust. It wouldn't be considered if she, like, I don't know, got drunk and had sex with somebody without telling me. If she volunteers that information immediately after to me, that's not cheating to me. That's actually very respectful.
Interesting. Do you agree with the reversal of that statement? Okay.
What reversal?
Well, if you were to do...
advice. Okay, gotcha.
Right. Well, yeah,
I'm
because...
such a lawyer.
Define reversal. Yeah. At the end of the day, yes, simply put, it's the lack of lying. And if, yes, and a new element, a factor has been introduced into play, you to... as part of the bond and strengthening the bond and the loyalty in that case to the person, you are coming clean with everything that has transpired, and the fact that you're coming back and coming clean and volunteering that information because the act itself may have been whatever it may have been driven by, the fact that you are continuing to cultivate that relationship of complete honesty with each other, again, means you keep choosing each other and keep walking this path together. So in that sense, the honesty, again, is the foundation.
And has any of you been ever cheated on?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Let me think about it. No, I don't think so.
And presumably you've never cheated.
Well, technically, no. I would say no. Yeah. No for the answer. For the second one too.
It once happened on my part. Never after.
Does he know?
I don't know. Actually, no.
Let's call him up right now.
Hi.
Would you?
I don't know if I have his number, but let me check.
Do you are you friends with your
with that person?
Exes?
With
or do you believe in friendships with people that you've been in relationships with afterwards? After when you break up?
Let's say this with my most recent ex-boyfriend. I wouldn't call it friendship, but we are, like, I can text him and we're gonna be polite. And when I was moving out and we were figuring out my stuff and his stuff, and it was very, like, I made sure to get the cleaning into his apartment and ready, like, it's polite and it's good. With the other exes, considering that there was a lot of emotional entanglement on both sides, and obviously when the breakups did happen, it wasn't a very happy event in my life, at least, no, I did not stay in contact with them.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. What about you?
What about me? Cheating?
No, the friendship with the people you've been in relationships with.
Let's see which ones have been successful at doing. The marriage for sure. The ex-girlfriend for sure. Yeah, so yes. Actually, even with the first traumatic, whatever that was, the hospital girl, even her, not that I should. It's probably not even healthy for me, but like I said, I do see all the good stuff we had too. Otherwise, why was I with her in the first place, right? So I try to give her kind of the benefit of a doubt that she will kind of figure her shit out and understand what actually happened. But so far, it doesn't look like it's happening. But yes, I have been maintaining contact with her. The second one was it went into the almost the criminal level that there's just no way that will ever, like, I wouldn't want to be friends with a person like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I don't know if important to mention, one of the exes, we all lived together.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
The ex that I was with for 2.5 years, that was after my marriage. She lives with us. She's a very good friend. It wasn't from the beginning. It took a while, but
let me get this straight. So you moved out of your exes, and then you moved in with him.
Yeah.
And was that while you were living with your ex?
Yes.
Of 200. Okay.
Yeah, correct.
Why do you look so surprised? Because
Another
you would
day.
think there would be a lot of friction.
Correct.
Well, I find a lot of pride in myself and her as well, that there wasn't. I mean, of course, there were things that we need to talk about, and I also pride myself in good communication, and I want to make sure that both sides are understood. But I'm actually very proud of that actually exists.
Sure. I think there is a level of skill that obviously you're demonstrating to have, which is to navigate emotional
Harmony, really.
Sure.
It's not that neither one of us hate each other. Sure, our romantic relationship didn't work out, but that doesn't mean we can't be friends. We still enjoy each other's mentally and backing each other up. It's just not romantic. And in a way, sometimes we even share to each other, we're almost closer than we were when we were dating, without the sexuality part, without the romance, without the expectation, the jealousy, and all the things that come with, partnerships when they are not very natural.
Mm-hmm.
So the following is not that far-fetched of a question, but I'll ask it anyway. Presumably, you guys are not.
Okay.
Sure. Presumably, you guys are not having a sexual, or she's not sexually involved with you two.
No. Oh. Not regularly, but it's
sometimes.
Not.
Okay.
No, and not sometimes either. It's just
whenever it happens.
It's not ruled out.
It's not
okay.
Or
let me rephrase that
occasion,
question. Has she? Okay. So then she has been involved sexually with you two for the past few months that you guys have been in a partnership relationship.
Yes.
Okay.
I love this.
So I guess my question doesn't go that much to you because I think I understand you. Mm-hmm. For you,
I don't
Nela,
even understand myself. I can do understand.
Reality is ambiguous.
Nela, for you though, when this was okay, tell me the story. How was it? If you're able to, I guess, tell me how this all came about. I guess I want to know like how you were comfortable with the situation happening while knowing that they were previously in a relationship.
I want to probably start with saying I was never uncomfortable about it, and I was never uncomfortable with it deeply, at least, because I knew Moshe for a few years, the same as the ex-girlfriend, And if anything, when they were together, it was a union that I would look up to. And in a lot of ways, it was exemplary for me, again, for almost a visual board type, like, oh, this is, I hope I'm fortunate. Yeah, fortunate in life where there is a person, a partner for me that is as limitless, I guess, in the way they grasp at reality. Well, and going forward, I was aware that they have been broken up when they did break up several times. And by the time when I was moving in, I knew she lived there. And prior to moving in, we actually had a nice lunch and a little like catching up, because as a person, she's a great person. She's a beautiful person. And I've maintained contact with, even we were never like girlfriends, but I valued and saw in her that there's a lot of experience in life that I was interested in. So by the time that I was introduced to the situation, I made sure that she doesn't take it in a way where I'm trying to cross her, where I'm trying to do something to her that's, again, unfair or has malicious intent, which it was not about that. And it was driven by just me wanting to be with Moshe and not just to do something bad to her.
Sure.
So the three of us talked before anything began, and I made sure to obtain this sort of almost blessing from her that if this will be a situation that is manageable for you and for all of us emotionally, then it's okay. And if it's not, let's just try to right here and right now just put it all out there. And that conversation was actually successful. We did revisit that topic maybe a few times, but that conversation was like frictionless, I want to say.
Interesting. You had mentioned something about LAPD chopper.
I had a feeling that you would want to talk about that. It's a funny story. I love that story. I actually have a video from a surveillance camera that captured it, so it's even funnier to show people. Basically, what happened was my house also serves as like a creative space as well as an event place. So there was nothing going on in the house at that time. I had a date that was with me in my bedroom, and there was a roommate that was sleeping in a room nearby, and somebody called the police to report some burglar. For some reason, I guess the burglar was on my property, but somebody else was really nice to call the cops to tell about this burglar in my property. But anyway, here I am having sex, butt naked, with this other girl, butt naked, and the room lights up with this like really bright light. And I don't remember my lights being that bright all of a sudden. At first I thought maybe she accidentally hit the switch or something but no, it wasn't that. And I'm hearing the chopper. And I'm like, what is this? So I get out of bed, I look through the window, and I see a LAPD chopper with a spotlight, right? And the first thing that came to my mind, he must be just passing through. But no, he was stationary, and he was just shining right into the bedroom. So I thought, well, let's, I don't know, I was in a silly mood. So I was like telling the girl, I'm going to step outside the balcony, butt naked, and I'm going to stand like Superman, and we'll see what he does, So I walked out into the balcony, and I did that. And he took the spotlight and he put it on me, probably for a good, what would you say, 1, 2, 3,
Well, you took
4,
it, yeah.
5 seconds, And I'm just like this. I just didn't move, smoking my vape, And eventually, I think in my mind, they probably told each other, "Is he naked? Take that spotlight off him," stuff like that, invading privacy. So anyway, so they left. Then I get a call from the gate. There's a bunch of cops over there. So I had to like go up there, but then I'm still kind of just in my boxes now, barefoot, walking up the driveway to meet them. But then I realized, wait a minute, are they really cops? I don't know. Called 911 myself. Hey, has there been any report of, burglary? They told me no. So I'm like, then you know what? Can you call the cops? Because there's some people here pretending to be cops. I don't know why I thought that. That was probably fucked up a little bit. Anyway, so I go back into the house. I don't go all the way to the gate to greet them because they're like flashing their lights on me. I couldn't really see who they were. And, the way they wanted me to like, I don't know, something, I just need to be careful and, make the right decisions.
Sure.
I go back home and I tell, the girls what's going on. And then this chopper comes back. Now he's at the motor court shining the light over there. So I had the best idea ever, which never happened. But the idea was, I told the girl, hey, follow me. I'm going to take my megaphone and I'm going to go into the motor court and I'm going to talk to the chopper in the megaphone as he's talking to me back. We'll have a whole dialogue. Bless you. We'll have a whole dialogue, megaphones. You'll capture on video. It will be the best video ever. But she was super scared. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to get in trouble. I'm like, come on. Like, when do you ever get the chance to do that? So it never happened. Anyway, I came to the motor court. The chopper goes, hey, dude, go to the gate. Those are LAPD. I'm like, okay. So I wave to him and I go up to the gate. I show my license. I tell him I own the place. Yeah. And that's it. And they left. But the video,
Yeah, send me the video.
I can.
We'll add it to the clip.
I can. I will.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. It's funny when you were saying I was in a silly mood, and I was thinking, when are you not in a silly mood?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's my benchmark.
You have some thoughts about Valentine's Day?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Valentine's Day. Why do we celebrate Valentine's Day? So that is the day that we kind of picked to show our love to our partners, right? Why? Because we're really busy throughout the year, because we don't think about our love throughout the year, because you don't give flowers to your wife throughout the year. You do. Why do we have to follow this random day, not even a random day, a specific day every year to show and express our love? We're not doing it for the love. We do it for to show it on Instagram, to show it to other people, because other people the next day, what'd you do for Valentine's Day? So that's really why we're doing it. I don't want to take a part in that. And we did have a conversation about it because, it wasn't really her, she didn't see it that way, right?
That wasn't my view.
And of course, of course we're going to have differences in values. Actually, that's important because otherwise we'll just be clones and boring. So that was something to discuss, when I explained her my position. I don't think there's anything wrong in doing it to celebrate a holiday, but I want to not, I feel like I'll betray myself if I celebrated something just because everybody else is celebrating it and thinking that they're doing it for love and totally not really seeing that they're doing it for the public.
It's a bit hypocritical.
To tell people the next day how their husband, how romantic he is and what he did for her in Valentine's Day. It's silly. It's like, it's a performance. It's not really, I don't want to do performances. I want to live authentically,
And Nela, you didn't agree in the beginning?
In the beginning, it wasn't apparent to me, but after we did go over it, I respect that. And I agree with it now.
Mm-hmm. But before, you thought that Valentine's Day is supposed to be special for women, or what did you think?
I was just used to always celebrating it, and I was used to the very traditional scope of things when it is just like Christmas, just like any other holiday. It is something you celebrate and never question, and you prepare for it, and you exchange gifts, and like the whole procedure. It was just something that, for me, was never, again, put in a spotlight where I would question it, or I would think for some reason to not celebrate it. And when I was facing a situation when all of a sudden this pattern has been broken, I was taken aback. But then we did discuss.
Interesting. Why is it that you think this? Because I would just devil's advocate here. I think Valentine's Day is bullshit. But
Of course.
I also
And I appreciate
wanna
you being a
understand.
devil's advocate. Yeah.
I also want
Yeah.
I want to understand where that's coming from, because you brought up social media, right? So why not have a special day, but then just not tell the world about it?
Because I don't think that's why people do it. I feel like people do it more because they know it's a part of being in civilization, and they know they'll be asked that question. Just like if you do a birthday and there's no cake and candles, people will be asking why not, you know? So I just think that that's the cause for a lot of problems in the world. I think that I look at ourselves as the human race, as with you've seen the movie Idiocracy. I think like that's kind of one of the things that we do. We just follow each other because everybody's doing it, therefore it's right. And we don't do it with any reason. We just do it because everybody else is doing it. It's like blind mice leading the blind. Sure. Yeah.
It's a social ritual or a game that is being played for the sake of playing it.
Somebody came up with it. It's a nice concept, but why does everybody have to play with it? You know, why should it be mandatory, right? Why should a person be not reprimanded, but why in that particular case, when we kind of had this discussion, why was that even a discussion? Like, why would that be considered that I don't love her? I didn't forget that it was Valentine's Day, and I believe I made it clear even like a few days earlier, just so it's not a surprise. Because I'm not trying to hurt anybody, and I do love her, but I want her to understand that my love should be authentic, not because it's a specific day that everybody celebrates. I would feel fake.
Pretty much.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Well, and that goes just like it does not mean that showing affection in any other way, or the gestures that are associated with Valentine's Day are out of the question. This is really just a conversation about celebrating on a particular day and engaging in a social ritual. But if the gesture does feel natural and it's coming from a place of sincere desire, then it is always expressed, and there is no problem with that. So it's just really about the external meaning that's attached to Valentine's.
I think a healthy relationship requires like a lot of communication, and not just communication, also open-mindedness on both sides. If you don't have both sides, then you have somebody dominating, right? And as long as you have that, only two choices: either you agree to disagree, or this is not how I want it, and I prefer to move on somewhere else. That is always a choice. But when we make choices, nothing is perfectly good and perfectly bad. So we weigh, how much good is it in for me? How much do I like this person? How much do I want to be with that person? And what is the shitty things about that person? If the shitty things are low and the good things are high, then it makes sense to stay. But if it's the other way around, or if the person is just a fucking asshole and is making your life like living shit, and there's only one thing you want out of it, it doesn't make sense for anybody to stay. And they should, and everybody should be honest with themselves about, making that discussion also with themselves. It's even helpful to write it down, a list, but you still need to be honest.
Pros and cons.
Yeah, pros and cons of everything that you don't know how to feel about this. But I don't think that, I think that whatever her decision would be from that day, I would respect it. I never asked her to believe in my values, but I do need to explain why I have certain directions, and that the rest is kind of up to her.
The evaluation is on my
part.
part.
Change herself,
yeah,
because she loves me. If she does change herself, it should be because she truly understands it, or maybe she can agree to disagree, but at least she knows it's not coming from a bad place.
Yeah. Well, it would either be, voluntarily, if I understand and I voluntarily decide to take that path, or all of the reasons which, again, would not just imply sacrifice of who I am personally, but would signify that this is something, again, that I agree with and stepping into. So the evaluation was on my part. So, and that's the respect of each other's individuality.
And the love, technically.
Yeah.
Like, it would be more of a natural love, not kind of love that you need to be shown because you're not confident in your status in the natural dynamic that you have. Mm-hmm. The natural dynamic should show the care between each other. And I think just the conversation about this showed that I did care, that she does not, misunderstand this, that, that I'm just being a prick, like that there's a reasoning behind it.
Right. Well, great stuff.
Even though a lot of people do think I'm a prick, it's never intentional. They just don't understand me.
It happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just have the wrong impression because there hasn't been enough time in order to either have the right judgment, or they just sometimes don't get how other people are different from them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
thank you so much for your openness and honesty.
Absolutely.
Wish you
Namaste.
both nothing but the best.
And don't come back.
Ever with your dirty business.
Come back anytime. And I hope that you both are successful in every aspect of life that you
Same goes to
desire.
you. Thank you.
Very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you later.